some of the team working from home and some of the team who are coming into the workshop working in line with the safety guidelines that we've been given to enable us to continue to build machines for our clients across the world. So at the moment, yeah, we're in a really, really strong position, and it's great to see the team working together to enable us to continue delivering solutions to our clients.
You sit on advisory boards in the Northwest region for Make UK and also for the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund, all of which is designed to help manufacturers move forward and become more productive. But obviously, you must be finding out about how the pandemic's affecting other people in the sector. What's the feedback you're getting?
The feedback's really mixed, Nick. So I think, sadly, there are some businesses that have been significantly hit. So they could be significantly hit because actually they're finding that some of the larger players in the supply chain are not paying invoices, and that therefore they've got a mounting amount of kind of debtor book coming into play, and that the running costs for a manufacturing organisation is quite high. So if you are not able to sell as much products, then that businesses are tapping into the government kind of schemes that have been announced, so the furloughing scheme and the business interruption loan scheme, and for some businesses it's really, really hard. So on the flip side, I think we're also seeing lots of businesses that are thriving through this, and that isn't necessarily just the ones that are producing PPE, who obviously are seeing a surge in demand, but it's the businesses that kind of work in the peripheral, who are now kind of, in essence, not able to produce the amount of product that they need to increase that demand. So they are, accelerating their plans and looking at how they can work smarter and more effectively to enable them to deal with that kind of increased opportunity that they have. And whilst it's sad that some businesses aren't thriving, I think there is always a positive story for some other businesses, and that as a community, that community is working together to enable us to, where possible, support each other, and ensure that actually the manufacturers that within the network have got that longevity. I know one of the interesting conversations that I had was around the importance of a network. So in a discussion I had last week was around, those manufacturers and those business leaders who are kind of managing this situation, and then often are finding that they're able to kind of draw on the support and still maintain in a strong position as a business. They're doing that because they've leveraged their network, and just because we are working in a virtual way now, that doesn't mean that we can't network and we can't draw on that kind of community of support that we have to enable us to continue to thrive through this situation. So I think that's been a key message, and I think that's why as a business we are members of a number of organisations and continue to regularly engage with them to make sure that I suppose we're up to date and we're supportive, but also we support others within our network.
It would be remiss of me not to point out the fact that the manufacturer community is also a place where a lot of companies are now turning to have that kind of conversation. So pardon the plug, but the manufacturer community is there for people to get advice and also to offer advice and help to others. Jason, people talk about what life's going to be like when the pandemic is done. It's definitely not going to be back to normal, is it?
Absolutely not. And I've seen many emails and messages on LinkedIn. There's almost that underlying thing of when this is all finished and when this is over, we're going to commit to certain projects, or we're going to further a conversation after all of this is finished. And of course, I don't think it ever will be finished. And I don't think there's a magic day that suddenly everything will be all right or back to normal as it was.
I think you're right. I think what we're looking at is an opportunity for, now that we have some enforced downtime. Obviously some people are still very busy, including yourselves, but for manufacturers to say, I must use this time to plan for a different future, one that perhaps makes me more resilient, perhaps makes my company better able to withstand such a shock. And that involves obviously the digitalization and the automation that has been such the focus of the last few years. Is that what you're getting at, Jason, that this is the time to plan all of that?
Yeah, and I've certainly taken a bit of a sidestep in my own organization and planning of what I do personally. And I think I'm certainly going to change the way we work as an organization, and where people haven't come to the office, we've kind of been questioning, well, do you actually need to come to the office as much? And we do have some members of staff here who have been working from home before last year even, where we say, well, actually your commute to work is more valuable to us if you stay at home. You actually become more productive and have a better train of thought if you stay at home and maybe take a 1 day or 2 days from out of the office where you can concentrate and not have the distractions of other people. So I think businesses should really embrace the opportunity that we do have. And like you say, is to take a bit of a step back and listen to our peers and say, well, can we work in slightly a more efficient and often better way of working?
For me, I think the coronavirus has really brought massive changes in terms of not just how the UK operates, but how the world operates. More so now than ever before, we are seeing a significant pace of change. So there's major changes that are coming out, not just kind of to respond to things like the ventilator challenges that we're seeing within the UK, that's kind of almost kind of resonating across the world, but also in developments in terms of kind of key technologies that we need in order to be able to create new business and follow best practice. And innovative products and services have become increasingly more important as a result of this situation, and that will be kind of worldwide. I don't think it's necessarily just going to be concentrated within the UK or within Germany or within the US. This pandemic has got the opportunity to really bring us all closer together, and technology has got the potential to kind of underpin that, to make sure that we can come out of the other end kind of stronger and more united as a manufacturing community.
I wonder about supply chains, because a lot of the people we've spoken to say that obviously supply chains, particularly from the Far East, have suffered a real shock and fractured in some places. And that, again, we're going to have to rethink about these just-in-time supply chains that have proven to be so fragile and at risk. Do you think, Philippa, that we're going to be seeing much more reshoring of manufacturing, that this is, again, an opportunity for the UK industrial sector perhaps to gather more of a share of business for itself?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, Nick. So, we do live in a global economy, and many companies within the UK operate kind of worldwide. And the current situation has kind of highlighted how important our domestic market is and our domestic manufacturing base is. And I think there is going to be an increasing amount of companies that will reshore and reshore productions within the UK. But also I think there's an opportunity for us to be able to kind of be even more important on that global scale. And to continue working both domestically but also with nations across the world. We're currently working with a US client that we've got a shipment going out to them on Thursday this week, and we see more and more opportunities outside of the UK as well as the UK as a result of this situation and the opportunities that will be presented afterwards.
Before we started recording this, Philippa, you talked about the need for manufacturers to be more in control of their future. What did you mean by that?
I suppose as a business, we're really, really lucky that we've got a really strong leadership team. Jason, Medina and I work very closely to make sure that we've got a really solid plan for the future of CNC Robotics. We've spent a lot of time on that plan, and we're really fortunate that because we have a really strong plan and we've got a really strong pipeline and we've got a strong team, actually at the moment we're able to deal with this situation. Yes, it has impacted the business in terms of how we're operating, but we are remaining strong. So, we were absolutely in control of pulling that plan together and making sure strategically we had the right tools to enable us to deal with a situation like this. And likewise, you know, we're the ones that are in control of our destiny moving forward, and we will continue to grow and develop that strategic plan to enable us to remain in a leading position, in a strong position. And I think that's something that all business leaders have got the opportunity to do. And yesterday I took 2 hours out just to really look at the business plan and look at the business plan that we've got for the next 3 years. So even though actually there's a lot of focus on the here and now, as business leaders, we absolutely still need to continue to focus on that longer term, kind of bigger strategic picture, because that's as important as the here and now.
Jason, a final point. You know, you and I know, and most people who study these things know that automation and digitalization does not necessarily mean fewer jobs. It just means better jobs and more skilled jobs. But there must be a temptation out there among manufacturers to say, well, heavens above, you know, it's obvious that people are a problem now because we're having to make them work from home or furlough them. We need to get automation, not necessarily for the right reasons. What would you say to them?
Well, actually, I think it's an opportunity for almost every employer to look at their current workforce or current staff and say, right, well, how can we upskill these people and deploy some kind of automation into our business to make us stronger? Just laying people off at times of need or at times of recession, because I believe we're starting to think those ways, or companies are starting to think those ways. I think they should think actually a bit more about how can they grow and be stronger. And the only way really to do that is, yes, to automate. And we are behind Europe and the rest of the world as far as automation goes as a country. I firmly believe that I think it's the upskill and the training of those members of staff that are currently maybe out of work or are furloughed that will bring the country together.